Okay, so this is the second video in Salesforce organization and deployment. So right now in this video, we're going to talk about specialization. So again, in the slides on the content slide, you can simply click on the topic, and we're specifically going to talk about different types of sales organizations. So the first one we're going to talk about is a geographic sales organization. I think this one is pretty straightforward and easy to understand. And this one, you're divided by geography. So it may be east, it may be west. You can divide even further. It could be by county, it could be by city. There are a lot of different ways, but any type of organization divided by geographic location. So here's an example. So you would see that national sales manager down to these regional sales managers and so forth. Those would be your line positions, and your staff position would be the sales training manager. And if you remember, a staff position as a support function. So for example, this is the company that my dad retired from. He ran the regional headquarters in Tyler, Texas. And so these were their regional headquarters. So it depended on, where your customers are, then you divide from there. So, for example, this specifically was his region. And one thing they tried to do is, one, make it geographic, and two, make it about 1 million customers. So you can see where customer care centers are. So those would be like the call centers that like you'd call into if you had customer service. And then you can see where most of the people areas are located, that it's a fairly central area within, a geographic area. So it was called the Mid-South. Another type of sales organization is the product sales organization. So you might imagine that it is divided by product. So in this example of an organizational chart, you have obviously an office equipment and supplies company, and people are divided, or salespeople are divided by, do they sell equipment or do they sell supplies? So that allows for more specialization. So they're able to become more of experts in that particular product. Whereas in the geographic organization, you're going to sell all the products and services within that region. So this gives you more level of specialization. So one example would be Pepsi. And so they are divided by product type. And the other thing I would note here, and you can see those different product types, is they're also divided by who they sell to. And what I mean by that is grocery stores that you sell to are going to be divided by different categories. And so these are going to kind of represent those categories, and the categories managers, so the people that you're selling to, who you're selling to. So divided by who you're selling to with that product. Again, allows for specialization in those particular products and what's going on. A downside is that there might be duplication of effort. So if I'm selling to Kroger, I might have, 4 different salespeople calling on Kroger at the same time. They're just going to different category managers because of different product areas. Another type is a market sales organization, and that again is divided by your market. So in this example, commercial versus government accounts. So 2 types of business accounts divided into 2 different areas, because general business to business firms are going to buy differently than government firms are. So by giving this level of specification or specialization, you're able to become an expert on how those particular segments buy, those particular businesses buy. And government has a much more complex process of purchasing than a commercial account. So you really do need to become an expert in that area. So here's another example. So you can always look at who is the market. So commercial versus government. An example would be Bank of America. So they divide into 3 groups of customers. You've got consumers, so that's you and me. You've got companies, so general business firms. And then you've got institutional investors, which I may have mentioned before, are going to be like very large investors that have tens and hundreds of millions, probably hundreds plus millions of dollars that they are investing. And so you really do need to know how to sell and service each type of these customers. So you do need that level of specialization. Another type would be a functional sales organization. And I'm running through these quickly just because you can see some of it yourself. And I don't want to make the videos too long, but a lot of it's kind of self-explanatory in that a functional sales organization is by function. So that's like having inside sales and having outside sales. So in that case, this is an organizational sales chart, again, for the Mid-South region. But although they were geographic, they also had a functional component to their sales organization where they had the call center. So call center through sales and also retention, and then your general director of sales that's door to door in the stores that you go to in the field. So by the function that the salespeople are doing is how this is divided. And so if you can look at these different comparisons, and I'll let you read these again to keep this brief, but you can go through these different comparisons, and you need to go through these different comparisons. And then the last type is that hybrid sales organization. And this is really what most companies use. I probably won't test you on this as much, but I want you to know the prior 4 and those different ones. And a lot of times it's a combination. So you may have, so in this example, we're essentially saying that, okay, this is a office and equipment supply company. So first we're going to divide into whether it's a regular business or a government. So what's regular business versus government? That's the market. Then we're going to divide into, on the commercial size, major account versus regular account. So that'd be type of account, but then we're going to further divide into function. So field versus telemarketing. And then with field, we're going to further divide into geography. And then on the government side, we're just dividing into products. You might do that because there are going to be far more customers that are going to be on that commercial side than there are going to be on the government side. So the next thing we'll pick up with is actually Salesforce deployment decisions.